Hi friends, my name is Megan and welcome to my 50-second Flosstube episode. If you are new here, welcome. This is a channel that is mostly about cross stitch. However, I do share my other hobbies here when I've worked on them. I do have a little bit of sewing to share with you today, but it's all project bags, so definitely cross stitch adjacent. And if you are returning, thank you so much for coming back and spending time with me. I appreciate all of you even more than you know. Today is Friday, it is July the 12th, and the heat index is finally under 100 degrees here in Maryland. It has been very, very hot here, as I'm sure it has been throughout most of the country. And while the temperature is lower today, the humidity is very, very high. So still not very comfortable, but we're making it through. You know, we live in this old house and we don't have central air, but we've got air conditioning in the bedrooms and one in Cora's room for while we're gone during the day, and we just are hibernating. We're hibernating throughout our summers, so we're making it through okay. I hope everybody has been well. I, again, did not intend to be gone for quite so long. It's been more than a month. But June is a very busy and tough month for me, both personally and professionally, and so that was kind of a struggle to get through. And then we got to the beginning of July, and over the last weekend we took a long weekend up to our friend's house in the Catskills in New York, which was an amazing getaway for Erin and I. And Erin's best friend, who's also named Erin, and Cora, she came with us too, and she loved it up there. I can put in a couple of pictures of our trip. You know, I got to be an indoor cat for most of it. The room that we were in had a giant window seat that was perfect for stitching, and I'll be sharing the projects that I worked on while I was up there in just a little bit. We went on a big hike. We went to Catskill Falls. And we started at the top of the falls and we hiked down to the bottom of the falls and then hiked back up, and I did not know when we set off on that adventure that to get to the bottom of the falls it's almost all stairs, hundreds of stairs, and I have a very real fear of falling down the stairs, so that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my entire life. That was wild, but I did it, and I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I definitely wanted to give up multiple times on the way down and the way up. But you know, it's amazing what we can do when we really want to. So we went there. I went on a thrifting adventure, and I will share a little bit about that when we get to the things that came in the mail or that I drove around to get. Yeah. So that was wonderful, but now it's back to reality, and this past week has really been kicking my butt. I had to have some dental work done, and I can't tell if I'm talking a little funny. I still have a little bit of residual swelling from that this week, and work has been bananas, and you know, life is lifing, I guess. So other than that, Quentin is good. He stayed here with the cats while we were gone. In the town that I live in, there's a big 4th of July celebration, including fireworks, and townspeople come and park all in my yard, which is a whole separate thing to watch the fireworks. And poor Quentin was here to deal with that on his own, but he did great. So he's doing well. All the animals are doing good. Cora was so sad when we got back from New York. She loved it up there. She got to sit out on the deck with no leash on, which was like the first time she's ever been able to do that. So, and that was also her very first big road trip. It's technically about a 4-hour drive from where we are. It took us 5 hours to get there because we took lots of stops for her, and then a little more than 6 hours to get home just because of traffic. So, but she did great in the car. Mittens is doing well. She's asleep in a box over there. Tarzan is fully acclimated into our house for the most part. All the animals' diets have changed, and we're working through that, but everybody is getting on the same page finally, so that's been great. I'll pop in a picture of Tarzan sitting in Cora's chair the other day. That's how I think that was the sign, like, okay, Tarzan feels like he belongs. Our sweet outside kitty Dingus, she is definitely showing her age, but she's still out there kicking around, so that's all we can ask for. yeah, so like I said, I've got a lot here to share with you. I've got project bags that I've made. I've got plenty of works in progress that I've worked on. I've got new starts and finishes. I've got plans. I've got things that I've purchased. I've got a giveaway winner. All the things. Aaron and Cora are upstairs in the bedroom, like I said, in the air conditioning, so there might be some banging from up there. I did notice in my last video that you could definitely hear the fan going, which I think really affected the audio quality, so I did turn that off, so I might be talking quickly because it's definitely hot in here. I do have the window open, so there might be some sounds from people driving by, but we're going to do the best that we can, right? So I think we should definitely get started. Let me take a quick drink. So in the beginning of this month, I was having big feelings about a lot of things, and so one day I just was like, I need to make myself some project bags. I need to sew all day long. That's the only thing I want to do today. So I went through all of my fabric that I had here. I didn't want to have to go out and buy anything for this. I just wanted to use what I had, and I made a bunch of project bags. I needed some for the spring and for the summer. Some are already in use, and you'll see those later, but here are ones that don't have projects in them yet. There are 2 different tutorials that I use, and I will have those linked below. Typically, I try to link in the description box anybody that I talk about, or any shops that I mention, any tutorials that I may use, anything I can think of. I try to give a lot of information down in the description box, so check there. Here's the first one that I made of these girls. Blue lining. I've made a lot of bags like this, but I think that my tastes are changing in project bags, at least the ones that I make myself. So there's one. Here's this cute little puppies riding skateboards and scooters. Adorable. I'm really into like these top zip bags. It's gray on the inside. I made a couple of nautical themed ones. There's this one. One of these should have that new Liz Matthews Patreon pattern in it for sure. This one. Some blue inside. This one feels very millennial to me, but as a, I guess, older millennial, that seems appropriate. I definitely used to have like green shoes like this that I would always wear with a navy and white dress. It's got the ropes inside. And here's one with some moths and butterflies, again with the blue. So that's some of what I made. Like I said, you'll see the rest of them as I go through some of these projects. I don't know, they're very fun to make. I really enjoy doing that. So all right, let's move on to works in progress. So this I was working on in my last video. This project is by Smoky Mountain Stitches, and it's Ann Woodall 1847. It's a reproduction sampler, which looks like this. I am stitching this in mostly the called for DMC. However, I did make some adjustments based on how the picture looked. I wanted my my project to look more like this, and not all of the DMC colors necessarily looked like this. I believe this model was stitched in a Veriswale. So I was working on that. It was in the Q-Snap the last time you saw it. Here's the project bag that it lives in. I'm stitching this on a piece of 28 count smoky linen by Perman, and here's where I am. So I finished the 3rd page, which means that technically we are halfway done with this project, even though the bottom half is much more stitch intensive. Not to say that these are not stitch intensive, because these are a ton of stitching. But when I was working on it last time, I think I had this pink flower done, and I was working on the leaves, and then I came down and added in this big blue flower here. So I was watching my friend Leah Noel, who is Rhubarb Patch Studio, I think. I was watching her Flosstube this morning, and she was also working on this project, and she was talking about this leaf over here and how her chart was missing stitches for it. And I was watching it and I was thinking, oh, that's weird. Maybe it's because she has the PDF, because I don't think my chart is missing any stitches. And then when I looked at it, yes it is. Like, that leaf is not complete. So I guess I need to do that. And then I continued to look at it, and I noticed that this one doesn't quite look like the photo either. And then this one is a little bit different than the cover too. So I need to go back and do a little bit of adjusting at some of those places. So I'm so glad for Leah for pointing that out, because I don't know that I ever would have noticed that those leaves were not done. But either way, I love this project. It is a true labor of love because it is not easy to read. I ended up having to take pictures of the pattern because I have a paper pattern and put it into GoodNotes so I could really zoom in and mark off. But I believe that the finished product is so gorgeous that it's all going to be worth it. I wish you could see how vibrant this really looks in real life. I do think that this camera definitely blows things out a little bit more, because these are very vibrant and very beautiful. So that is a great project. The next thing I have to show you, I believe this was a plan of mine in my last video. My friend Krista, who is the Shenandoah Valley Stitcher on Flosstube and on Instagram, her and I have an ongoing Edgar Allan Poe sal, and it's called MK's Poe Wall Sal. We each have an Edgar Allan Poe wall in our homes, and so we decided we would start a project together and then just continue to use that sal to encourage each other to work on our works in progress, our whips, or have new starts, or however we want it to be, just something fun for us to do together. So we both made starts on June the 1st, and I stitched Nevermore Raven, and it says that this is by Donna Wolf, but I do know it's a different name. The shop name is different on Etsy, so I'll make sure that that's linked below. This project lives in this cute little Halloween bag, and I stitched this on a piece of 36 count. I know this was a Fortnite fabric, but I don't have the tag for it, or at least not that I can find. And I stitched it in mostly the called for DMC, with the exception of the black, which I switched out for sulky black. I do like the coverage of that better. So there is my finish of that. It's really, really pretty. I love how it looks with this moody fabric. I did make one other change. Down at the bottom here, there was a cat charted, and instead I did 1845, which is the year that the Raven was published, and I put E.A. Poe for initials. I wasn't sure if I liked that, but I do know myself, I'm not going to go back and change that out. So there's that finish. Right, the next project I have to share with you is another kind of ongoing thing I have this year. I have been a member of Beast or God's Patreon for a few years now, and finally this year I'm getting around to stitching the projects from his Patreon. I believe that's the only place that you can get them. Of course, that will be linked below, and I'm stitching through his back catalog. They all are stitched on 18 count oatmeal Aida using DMC, which is great. It all lives in this bag. There's a giant piece of Aida in here. But I love 18 count oatmeal Aida. I think it's always pretty and classy, and I like stitching on it, so that works for me. So it lives in this bag that I made, and this was I think this was from July of 2020. It was this cute little pattern. And I'm not sure about the current projects that he puts out, but then these were all like stitch-alongs. So he was like releasing parts per week and sharing a lot of inspiration and I love how this looks. I have a frame for it already. When I was in New York, I took myself on a thrift trip and I visited 4 like kind of surrounding towns from the area we were staying, and I went to 4 different shops, and one shop had boxes of 25-cent frames, and I got a ton of frames. So one of the frames that I got will fit perfectly for this. So that should be a finish hopefully next time I see you. I'm doing 2 stitch alongs right now, and I've got another one to talk about shortly, or 2 more actually to talk about. But I'm not doing a very good job of keeping up with either of them, which is okay. They'll all get done eventually, right? So the first one I'm not keeping up with is Modern Folk Embroidery's No Time Like the Present. This is his 2024 stitch along. It is gorgeous. I'm not stitching this because I don't like it. I just am doing other things right now. This is the mock-up that I took inspiration from. I'm using 2 colors of DMC, 371 and 3031, I think. Oops. I don't have any of the thread here with me, but that's what that looks like. It lives in this little celestial bag that I made. I'm stitching it on a piece of 36 count platinum linen. 2 strands of the darker color and 1 strand of the lighter color. And here's where I'm at. So I finished the April section and I've got just a teeny tiny start on May. You know, like I said, I'm just doing other things right now, and that's okay. I'll get back to this. There's a lot of hanging threads here. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to hide these. The way I'm stitching it is I go down in sections, and then I park the threads down into the next page, and then I work all those in, and then I just continue that process. So hopefully by the next time I update you, we'll have a little more on this. But I still love it either way. And the other stitch along that I'm currently doing that I'm not keeping up on is the Book of Fungi Sal. This is by Living on the Rainbow. I'm going to have to put a picture of at least the cover here. That project is living in this project bag, and you can see it's hefty. There's a lot of floss involved in this one. I got the kit from somebody else on Etsy. I'll put the name here. And it came with the embellishments and the fabrics, and you just had to get all of the DMC, which there is, like I said, quite a bit. So the last time I showed this, I had started on the cover, and this is 18 count white Aida. So I had the outline of the cover done, and then since then I've added in the front, with the exception of the kind of the corners and the word fungi. This pattern calls for Krynic, and I wasn't sure at the time if I was going to use that, but I'm just pulling Krynic from my stash when I think it's appropriate, so I do need to go back in and fill that in. The back is also full coverage, but I am going to change what the back of this says. I think it says like witches something, but there's a book I really love by T. Kingfisher called What Moves the Dead, and there's a character in that book who's a mycologist, and I'm going to put her name on the back here, and I'm not sure what else I'll add to the bottom. But so I worked on that cover and I got some of that done. That is a lot of stitching, and then I prepared the pages for the inside because this will be a book. She gives you very good instructions on how to kind of outline the books and how to space it on your fabric. So I did get all, you probably can't see because I used like blue. I did get all of the pages outlined per the instructions, and I got started on the first page, which is a stinkhorn. Hopefully that'll focus. Which is a stinkhorn mushroom. So there are many pages out now. This is probably pretty close to being done. So I have some catch up to do, but I'll just pick away at it as I want. So very good. The next project that I have, hang on. Okay, sorry, there was a lot of there was some stuff going on outside, but I think we're okay now. So anyways, the next project I have to share with you is a new start. June the 11th marked 8 years since my mom had passed away. And that is obviously a difficult time for me and my family. And it also coincides with probably one of the busiest times of year for me at work. So it was very overwhelming. And I decided I wanted to have a new start this year to, make myself feel better, basically. So I'd had this project kitted up for quite some time, a couple of years I believe. Came out in 2019, and I thought the time was finally right to start it. That project is Night Walk Down by the Blue Flower. It looks like this. This project always made me think of my mom. My mom had dark hair, and anytime the moon was beautiful, she would always text me and my sisters with a reminder to make sure that we looked at the moon. So this always makes me think of her ever since it first came out. And I'm glad that I got it started because it's beautiful. So this project is living in this little project bag that was made by Diana. It is Kismet. And I'm using all of the called for colors, which are beautiful. I'm stitching this on 36 count. Can I read this? Harvest Blessings by Seraphim. And typically I would stitch a project like this 2/2 on 36 count because I like that boldness, but because this has been kitted up for several years, I did worry about not having enough floss, so I did decide to stitch this 1/2. And this fabric is a little bold for me, but I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So here is where I got to. I did one full page. Bring it in a little bit. Oh, I wish this fabric was coming off a little more true. It really reminds me of either a beautiful sunset or a beautiful sunrise, whichever way you'd like to look at it. But here's the first page, completed. It's just soft and pretty, and I love it. I did choose not to do the border on this. The border is very nice, but it is a ton of stitching, and I just didn't want to do that. So there we go. Beautiful. I love that. Let's see here. So I went through a lot of my projects that I hadn't touched yet this year, and I'm currently in my summer schedule at work. So in the summertime, we work 4 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, and then we also have 1.5-hour lunches. So I knew that I would have some time to really work on some projects that I hadn't gotten to yet this year. I might not be meeting my goals for each project that I'm stitching on, but I want to make sure that I'm touching every project every year. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to give each of them a week and just do what I can on them. And so I picked out 2 to get me started. And the first one that I worked on is Nantucket Broom Ride by Not Forgotten Farm. I love this little witch riding a whale. That's a summer pattern, right? I think so. So that project lives in this beautiful bag that was made for me by Janet Jabber many years ago now, but I love this bag. It's seen some of my very favorite projects, including this one, which I do love as well. I'm stitching this project in all of the called for DMC on a piece of 28 count. This was a November fabric of the month from Ship's Manor, probably 2017 maybe 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. But I thought it looked pretty close to the cover. And here's where I am. So I worked on the whale mostly. I got the outline of the whale totally done, and really started working on getting that filled in. He shows up in person a little bit better than I'm seeing on the computer right now. I can't always tell when I'm filming how well something is showing up truly. Like this fabric is looking more muted to me, but it's actually kind of like a bolder blue. But this is great. This fabric has got a nice weight to it. I'm able to stitch this in hand, which I love. So I feel good that I got a good chunk of that whale done. That'll be some good, easy, maybe stitch group fill in, or I did get tickets to the Midsummer Stitch. I can't think of what that's called. That Stephanie from Lindy Stitches is hosting next weekend. So I might pull this out to work on then. What was I going to say? Oh, I'm not sure how much time I'll spend. I don't know. I've never done an event quite like that. Like I've done like some stitching retreats and some stitching Zoom sessions, and I typically like to listen more than to participate, but I would have to be in my stitching room upstairs for it, and it'll depend on the weather, truly, how much time I get to spend participating. So anyways, so that's Nantucket Broom Ride. And the next project that I pulled out for some lunchtime stitching is Stacy Nash Primitives Mustard Seed Manor Sewing Book, which looks like this. And this is how she has the inside. There is another little piece there. It says pins. So this is fun. This project lives in this little kitty cat bag. And I'm using all just floss from my stash. It's only a few colors, so that was easy to pick a couple of colors to go with that. This is a piece of 36 count fabric that was also, I believe, a Fortnite fabric that I ended up over dyeing last year when I was kitting up all of my Dark October projects. And here's where I got to. So I took the border all the way down and around, and I also started adding in some of this plant right here. So when I started stitching this, and I did not remember doing this until I was working on this again, and I was like, what have you done? What is this? I started stitching the border in the wrong color, and instead of pulling it out, I just kept going in the right color and then added some more of the wrong color in at the bottom, and I think that looks fine. So there it is. Glad to get some progress on that. Alright, I need to pull some projects over, so I'll be right back. Okay. Alright, so in the month of June, I wanted to pull out this Modern Folk Embroideries Move Forward in Love. This was the Pride Stitch Along from 2022. Looks like that. That project lives in this bag I made with these like rainbow dots all over it. I'm using the Called For DMC again with a piece of 36 count Fortnite fabric. This colorway is Sea of Fog, and I did pretty much get the second page done. Previously, when I had worked on this project, I don't know, I had a hard time getting into it. I don't know what was my problem? I don't know. I had a blast stitching this time. I guess maybe I had a different game plan this time. I'm not sure what it was, but I had a great time stitching it. I just color completed the pages and it was great. Obviously I have not filled in any of the center medallion, but that will get done one day, so it's fun to work on. The next project I have to show you is a finish. So like I said, we had a longer than expected journey up to and from New York. We split the driving. Normally Erin drives everywhere and I'm the passenger princess, but that's a long drive, so we decided to split it halfway. So on the way back, Erin drove first and I sat and stitched on P-Roy by Stacy Nash Primitives. This is from the Animal Cracker series, and this is the slug. I love him. And I believe in my last video I showed that I had him all outlined and ready for fill-in. So he would be like a car project or a waiting around project, or he sat in doctor's rooms with me, like doctor's offices with me. You know, he got around a little bit. And now he's done, so I will have to pick a new project for that. He lived in this cute, random thread, this cute little woodland animals bag. I stitched him on the called for 36 count vintage homespun, which is an R&R fabric, I think, which is lovely. I really enjoyed stitching on that, using most of the called for, oh, these are kind of a mess. Most of the called for flosses. I did change the green because my green was too close to the chamomile, and I changed out the pink just to something that I had already. And here's my finish. Isn't he cute? You can't say that's not a cute slug. I love him. I think he's adorable. I can't wait to finish him. I've already got fabric in the bag to go with him, and that makes a little pin pillow there. So there he is, adorable. I love him. Alright, the next project is a new start and a finish ×2. I'll have to put in a picture because I don't know if you can see how crumpled this is. But I stitched this pattern from Stitch Sprout. This is Pink Pony Club. I also love Chaperone, and Quentin's girlfriend does too. So I stitched it twice. One will be for me and one will be for her. I used all of the called for DMC, and I will say that there were colors of DMC in this pattern I've literally never seen before. Like, there are pinks I didn't even know existed. So there's that. This is a bag that I made. This is one of the new bags that I felt really went well with this project. And I stitched these on a piece of pink mystery fabric from my stash, and I did add in some beads in the tassel. So there's the first one and the second. The second one got a little close to the bottom, but I can make that work. I'm just going to make them into little like flat hanging ornaments. So one for me and one for her. See the beads hopefully there. A little shiny. That was fun. That was another, when I was like kind of burnt out a little bit on P-Roy, I picked that up. So that was perfect. Alright, now we're getting to New York. I've got a cat up here on the table. Mittens has come to visit. So for our New York trip, because we were going to be in the mountains and in the trees and the woods, I wanted to bring along some projects to work on that were woodland related. And I used it as a good excuse to have one or two new starts. So the first project that I started was Snails and Leaves. This is by Stitchy Princess on Etsy. Looks like this. This is actually a restart for me. I started this last year, I think, but I didn't like my fabric. So I gave it a restart this year. Floss is living in this cute little project bag from Amanda May Art Design. How cute is that? And I'm stitching this on a piece of, I think it's 36 count mystery linen. One of my LNS's Needlecraft Corner does these little like ornament, I guess, cuts for $3.50. So this is one of those. And hopefully you can see that okay. I did stitch a lot that first day. We drove up on Wednesday night, so this was Thursday's progress. The boys rode four-wheelers and stuff all day, and I literally sat in the window seat and stitched on this like all day until it was time to go see fireworks. So cute. It's wrong. There's all kinds of problems here. This border's wrong, which made this wrong, which made that wrong, you know. But it's okay. I just fudged it and moved on. So this will be cute. This will eventually go in my my kitchen. My kitchen's got this kind of colors in it, so sweet. I did bring along existing work in progress. This is the Woodpecker by Cottage Garden Samplings. And I had actually brought this in my car for lunch for a couple of days before we left because I kind of wanted to like get my bearings again. But almost everything I put in was wrong, so I actually spent a lot of time unpicking and then putting it back in. I'm not typically one to frog a project, but I just didn't want to have to use the brain power it would take to continuously fudge down the body of this bird. I just didn't have that in me. So like I'd put in all of this up here, not the fill-in, but all like the bones. I did all of that white and then all of the darkest color here, and it all just didn't match up, and it almost all had to come back out. So that being said, that project lives in this pine cone bag that I made. I'm using the called for DMC, and it calls for 2 overdyes. I believe I'm using one of them, and the other one I just pulled from Stash. Again, on another piece of Fortnite fabric. You can tell I was in their their fabric club, I think for 2 years. And this was a piece of 36 count Fantasy. And here's what I got. So I believe I added in this tree. I added part of this tree. I stitched it, part of the branches in the wrong color. I added in this pile of leaves. And then, like I said, First I started with the white, I put that in and had to take it back, and then I started to put it back in, then I put some of the other colors around it and it was still wrong. And it was just a lot of back and forth, but we are on the right path now. So we are getting there. I don't know if this will come back out again later this year, maybe in November. November is my birthday month, and I still can't decide what I want to do for my birthday this year, so. But we'll talk about that a little later in plans, maybe. So that's where I got on the Woodpecker. And then I've got 2 projects left. So when Quentin was growing up, he used to collect piles of sticks and keep them around the doors of our houses or wherever, apartments or wherever we were living at the time. And those were his bear sticks. And a bear stick is how you defeat a bear. If a bear comes to your house, you have to use a bear stick. So we were going, the area we were going to, there are bears there. Our friend has seen them on his Ring camera, from his front porch. He's seen them on his back porch. They are out there. And I did not want to run into a bear. That was for sure. I kept thinking about that. And so I decided as an offering to the bears, I would stitch a bear, or at least start a bear. And so I thought about this like a few days before we were set to leave. And so I went to 1-2-3 Stitch and did add everything to cart and checked out immediately. There was no like, I'm going to pick fabric or floss or anything. I went with everything that was called for. And that is for Geraldine's Flowers by the Artsy Housewife. Because look at that bear. I have loved this from the moment that I saw it. So obviously I'm stitching this on the called for 40 count fabric using all of the called for flosses. This is another one of the new bags that I made. This is my favorite of my new bags. It's got this pretty creamy interior, these great flowers. These are all the called for colors and black and white. And here is where I got to. So I knew I definitely wanted to stitch on the bear while I was up there. So I told myself what I was going to do was I was going to put in this thin inner white border, and that would get me down to this bottom corner down here. And that should be easy peasy, right? I don't know. This is a Weeks Dye Works linen, which I don't use typically very often, and it's a 40 count, which I 36 is my preferred. I can stitch on 40, but it's not always my favorite. And I miscounted this friggin' white border. I can't even tell you. And you know, it's not, so when I'm stitching straight lines like this, I do 9 and then cross the 10, 9, cross the 10. Well, somehow I think I ended up with 107 down up here and 108 down here, and I could not figure it out, and I could not figure it out. Well, one of my 10s had, my sections of 10 actually had 11, so I figured that out. I finally got that fixed, so I had all across here, down here, across the bottom. That was right. I brought this corner up, this side up here, and it was a half a stitch off. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this cursed? Will a bear come? I don't know. So I pulled it back out and I put it back in, and it was still a half a stitch off, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be calm about this. And so when I find myself in a situation like that where I cannot find the error, what I do is I start like a running stitch, and every 10 stitches I go in and out every 10 stitches, and if on the 10th stitch it does not line up with the stitch that's already there, you know your mistake is somewhere in between. So I did that, and I finally fixed it, and I got the little white border in, and I put in just a little tiny bit of this bear. I wasn't sure how the pattern would be for the bear, because he looks kind of confetti heavy, but he's really not. He's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, I think. So he should be fun to get back to. And then I kept working on this a little bit. Like I said, I had some dental work. I think I said I had some dental work this week, and so this went and sat at the dentist with me, and I just kept working on that top border and brought this side down, and yes. So it's coming along. This border is a lot more fun to do than I thought it would be. I feel like I'm finally back on track. So that has been great, now that all my counting errors are gone. Okay, so the last project that I have to share with you today is a project that I actually had not intended on working on or starting, because I completely forgot that I even had it. I was watching Marissa M. Kissa, who of course will be linked below, and she was showing her All Creatures Great and Small, I think that's what it is, by Barbara Anna, with the big hill on it, and she was saying how she thought maybe she would change the words on that pattern to be lyrics from Ramble on Rose, which is a Grateful Dead song. I used to convert patterns to Grateful Dead lyrics. That used to be something I enjoyed doing, and I kind of just stopped doing it, actually with this one I'm about to show you. And she said that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I definitely have a pattern that I did the same thing to. I had recharted it to have the lyrics from Ramble on Rose on it. And I was like, I wonder whatever happened to that. I was definitely doing that again. I think it was 2018-ish. It was definitely, it was the very last kitchen I ever worked in. I remember sitting in my car one day and just like with my graph paper, like working on this. So, let's see, how do I want to show this? All right, so the pattern was Our Love Nest by Country Cottage Needleworks. And I ended up finding this in an old bullet journal. Like, the bullet journal is so old that like the elastic that goes around it to keep it closed is like just a ribbon now. It's not an elastic anymore. So I found it. It was Our Love Nest. And I had, there's a couple sheets of graph paper in here that has all the different areas that I was changing, and I took the graph paper and I put it all into wind stitch so that it would be easier for me to work with. Lived in this bag, another one of the new bags that I made. Love this. I made some bags for one of my friends out of a sweatshirt that that she had from her wedding, and this was the last little bit of the fabric I had left over from making those bags. So I love that one. I changed all the colors in this. Here is essentially palette I was working with, so when I had originally charted this, it was going to be kind of a companion piece to this. I can't remember what this pattern was called. This is another Country Cottage Needleworks, and I changed it to have lyrics from It Must Have Been the Roses. So in my mind, these two were going to be companion pieces, and I was going to do this new one on the same fabric as this. This is an 18 count Ada, which I think reframe this, but my rechart had 1/1, so that didn't work. But it did have blending filament like the other pattern and some treasure braid, which I think I might have bought specifically for these. I stitched this on a piece of Drizzle by Color and Cotton. This was the March 2024 Fabric Club, and I finished this up this morning. So here's where it is. I love this. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. This was so much fun. As soon as I started working on it, there was nothing else that I really wanted to stitch on. Like, I did not take this with me to New York, but I thought about it while I was up there. I'm just so happy with how it turned out. It says, grass ain't greener, wine ain't sweeter. And then, of course, at the bottom it says Ramble on Rose. I took all of the little stitches that were all of the little buds that were supposed to be just stitches, and I turned them into French knots. These are French knots with one strand of silk and one strand of treasure braid. So that was fun. There is treasure braid and Krynic, and then for the little roses, I hope you can see these, I did little like little wagon wheel roses, like little embroidered roses on there to make them pop out. I just had so much fun stitching this, and it was great. So I sent her a picture. I sent Marissa a picture today, fresh off the Q-snap, because it was her inspiration for me to pull this out and get it done. So I wanted to make sure she saw it first. And yeah, so love it, love it, love it. I have a wall in my living room, and it's got a big like 100 Dead Songs poster, and then there's like some of my Grateful Dead cross stitch around it. So that will eventually go up there on that wall. Okay, so let's see what's next. Next up, I will do, I had a little giveaway last time. It was for this pattern called Do Unto Others by Erica Michaels. Some glare there. And the winner of this pattern is my good friend Rebecca Journey. So Rebecca, I definitely have your address, and I will get this out in the mail to you shortly. I'll send you a message too. So, yay! Alright, so what kind of plans do I have? Not to melt is one of them. I am like hot right now. I'm going to be starting one of my birthday stitch-alongs with my friend Leah Noel. We're going to be starting that later this month. I can't wait for that. I'm going to start another stitch-along. This is the Ruth 1850 stitch-along, hosted by Milka, who is Mega Stitches, and Emily C. of Eclectic Possessions. This is a Queenstown Sampler Designs chart. Ruth. She's beautiful. She is a Berlin woolwork, I believe. And I've got this 36 count. I don't think you can really tell anything about this fabric. This is a limited edition Color and Cotton. It doesn't have a name or anything. So I got that, and I had some Michaels vouchers, so I went and picked up all, or most of the DMC, which is quite a few colors. Look at that blue. It's good. I got to go back through and see which ones they didn't have, so I can make sure I get those. That starts on August the 1st. And I think that's mostly what my plans are right now. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to reset just a little bit, and I'm going to pull over some of the things that I have purchased since I saw you last, and I'll be right back. Okay, So I've got 2 months of Color and Cotton to show you from their Fabric of the Month Club. This is the June fabric, which was a dove, and it's a 36 count. Beautiful, beautiful gray. And then this next one is white tea, which is another 36 count, which is a soft, very soft white. So when I took myself on my thrift adventure in New York, I found 4 places that I wanted to go and just, you know, dig around. There was like, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. I got to see a lot of really cool small towns doing that, and so hopefully when we go back, I'll do something similar again. But I did find 2 needlework related treasures while I was up there. This first one is a needlepoint, and it is so cool. I walked into the very first store, which was, I think it was called Happy Paws, and it was like connected to an animal shelter, I believe. And I literally walked in and this was in a box directly by the door. It was the very first thing I saw, and I was like, I'm gonna have a great day. So that's what that looks like. And I maybe could have walked away from this, maybe, but it was signed on the back, Grandma Anna Heiss Bullwinkle, 1964, December. So if I find signed needlework, I'm gonna buy that. So how cool is that? That might be another addition to my kitchen. And then I had set myself a certain budget for this adventure, and I had $15 left to my budget when I got to the last store, and I was walking around and they had a lot of like vintage tools and things like that, and I collect doorknobs. That was like one of the first collections I ever started, was doorknobs, interesting doorknobs, and they had a bit of doorknobs and they were okay, and I found one that was alright, but it wasn't like super interesting. Anyways, I was walking around and I saw this and I zoomed over to it, and it was exactly $15, and it's so pretty. This was a stamped project for sure, and I'm not sure, it's very bright in real life, but I'm not positive how I want to finish this. So it's like a tube. It was sewn up on both sides. On the inside you can see the instructions said to do that, and then at the end it says something about fold and tie, but I don't know what is this supposed to be, like a pillowcase, or what is this supposed to be? Does anybody know what this is, or have any idea of what maybe I should do to finish it? I don't know. I might just make it into a big pillow, but it was like meant to be, right? Like I had $15 left in my budget, and I went up to pay for it. It was marked $15, and I said, do you take cash or card? She said, if you pay in cash, I will absorb the tax. And I said, here's $15. So, perfect. So much fun. I do have 2 projects that I purchased that I don't have here physically to show you. I'm sure nobody is surprised that I joined the Artsy Housewife's Patreon when she put out this chart here. I mean, duh, obviously, right? And then also Dee from Dee's 20 Stitches reopened their Stitch for Pride, and so I was able to purchase that as well. So those are future plans. Another stitch along that I am very interested in is the current Owl Forest embroidery stitch along. It's their, is it Mushrooms and Toadstools? I'll put a picture here of that too. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but I had never ordered from them prior to this, but I did decide to go ahead and order the fabric and the floss for this stitch along. Originally I was just going to order the fabric, but when I saw what the shipping was going to be, I was like, well, I might as well for that price get the make it worth it, because it was very expensive. So I decided to get the floss too. So here's the fabric for it, and it's so cool. It's like a printed fabric, and it says it's a 30 count, but it seems little tight for a 30 count. I'm not sure. And I'm not going to take these out of the plastic because obviously if I'm not keeping up with the stitch alongs I've already started, I'm not ready to do anything with this just yet. But here are the beautiful flosses. So that should be fun one day. I placed an order with Saltbox Needleworks. I believe they are phasing out their paper patterns, maybe. I don't remember exactly what's going on. I saw an Instagram post and it said that there was a sale, and so I went on there. And I got two patterns that had been on my list for a long time. This is GH 1857. I've almost purchased this so many times. It is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm excited to have that in my collection. So, oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And I also got Got 1848 by Needlework Press. Another stunner. This next is the fault of Brenda, from Brenda and the Serial Starter. She said, I ordered this and it came from France, and I paused her video and I went and ordered it so it would come to me from France too. And it is this beautiful Respect de Soie pattern. I had never ordered directly from them. The shipping was very reasonable. It got here very quickly. It came packaged lovely. How cool is that? Do you see that? Oh my god, I love it. It came in this box, like, amazing. And the last thing that I have here is something, I think I got it on Stash Unloading maybe, or eBay, I'm not sure. But this is Just Cross Stitch magazine from January, February 2011. And I got it for this Plum Street, which is called Winter Wind Sampler. I stitched her Dust of Snow project, which looks to be maybe a companion to this. The woman is the same. It's very similar. If I have a picture, I'll put it up. I'm not sure I've got a picture of that finish. And then there was another pattern I liked in here too. Who is this by? Praiseworthy Stitches, and it's Winter at Beacon House. And it looks like that. I thought that was pretty too. That's probably big, but it says snowflakes falling, children calling, snow at last. And I work for the school system, and I know I'm not supposed to wish for snow, but I always do. Snow at last. All right, that's everything. I hope everybody, like I said, is doing well, surviving whatever extreme weather situation you are in, as I feel like worldwide that's what we deal with now. Yeah, so I think that's it. All right, love you guys. Bye.